On a Sunday morning. We're going to start with the expression, singing together, singing along. And I want to be extra mindful today and use my wisdom of music is what I spent all my life doing and sharing some of that vocalization. And I want to teach this idea that when we sing, it can often be a form of an expressive sigh. And if you think of when you exhale, so when we breathe in, we try to breathe into what we call our diaphragms, it's our stomach. So every time you're breathing in when you're singing, you get this little belly, and you're supposed to. That's where the air goes. And then when you're singing, it's like you think of it as a sigh. Every note is and we don't do that enough. And I feel so grateful that in my music, I sing like almost every day, and I get to sigh out the day's anxieties. And so when we're singing together, let's use that little belly, breathe into it, and when we sing out, every note is a little bit of a sigh. So, and then we let it flow through our bodies like that instead of trying to sound like I'm saying this because as an upcoming singer when I was young, I wanted to be the next Paul Simon. I wanted to be the next big singer. But it's all about what music is about, is expressing the humanity. So let's go there. I am the light. I am the light. I am the light in this world. I am the light, I am the light in this world, and I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright, and I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light, we are the light in this world, we are the light. We are the light, we are the light in this world, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. Turn to somebody and say, you are the light, you are the light, you are the light in this world, you are the light. You are the light, you are the light in this world, and you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright, and you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. I am the light, I am the light, I am the light in this world, I am the light. I am the light, I am the light in this world, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright, and we shine, and we shine, and we shine so bright. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light in this world. One more time. We are the light. We are the light, we are the light in this world. So beautiful, everybody. Thank you so much. Good
morning, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. How are you all?
Wonderful. Good. Microphone. Steve, we got the microphone here?
It's there's no faults, there's no blames. Perfect, beautiful, fabulous. So good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for those of you who are watching us in the virtual world as well. And I know that that's Paul Calabro today because he had some dog issues. And I'm sorry? It's dark there. Oh, the screens aren't on. But that doesn't mean that we're not on, does it? So, okay, all right. Okay, good enough. So, in the language of astrology, welcome to Pluto and Aquarius. The end of the death and rebirth of something powerful. So, a couple announcements going into service today. One is on November 24th, which is the Sunday before Thanksgiving. For anybody that lives in fear that they may not have a Thanksgiving dinner or lunch, we got you covered. Meredy is going to bake turkeys, and we're going to do a turkey lunch. So anybody that wants to contribute and be part of a pre-Thanksgiving, because let's just face it, can you really have that much turkey? And we're gonna test the system. So we're gonna have turkey after service on January 24th for that. No, November. Yeah. That's happening. So anyway, see Meredy if you want to participate in that in some way, like bring something or something like that, get that organized. So that's going on. And I think that's all our announcements for this. What? Yes, we have another announcement?
Help with the Thanksgiving food. Do we bring food, donations?
Bring to eat.
Bring to eat.
Yeah, bring to eat. So if you bring potatoes, that won't work. But if you bring mashed potatoes, that will work. If you bring green beans, that won't work. But if you have cooked green beans, that will work. So that's going on. I think that's kind of all our announcements today, except that Laura is on the platform today. Good morning, Laura. Good to see you. So, and that brings up prayer, because Laura is one of our licensed practitioners here. And if your heart has been touched in any way today, I just cannot say strongly enough, please do not leave without the support of prayer. And there is in the narthex, there is a prayer request box there. If you fill that out, the practitioners will pray during the week for that, and then we get together on Friday mornings and we pray together. So there's that. You can also talk to one of the practitioners that are wandering around today, and that would be Andrea or Laura. I think they're the only practitioners in the room today. And they would be happy to pray with you. Or you can schedule an appointment with myself or any of the other practitioners and go that way. Or at about 10 minutes after service, Laura will be holding a healing prayer circle in the Emerson room. So lots of ways to pray, because prayer is what we do. I think that's it. So I want to start with a question this morning, and it's relevant. I had a talk prepared, and then the talk has evolved through the week, and so we'll see kind of where it goes. But I kind of want to start our theme. Our theme for the month is hope on a rope, and that doesn't mean like hanging on a rope, and it doesn't mean like rope-a-dope, and it doesn't mean like soap on a rope. It kind of is like you guys know, like Galadriel says when she's speaking to the Fellowship of the Ring. We ride a razor's edge. We ride a razor's edge right now in the world that we live in. And it can go either way. And so hope is the thing that guides us. So it's more like hope on a tightrope kind of thing is where my image is. So anyway, the question then is about hope. And so the question that I'd love to ask you guys to start with is there an area in your life where you experience hope? And how is hope guiding you today? Anybody want to start? Jim, you want to start? Sure. Okay.
So thank you for turning the service over to me. You guys can all sit down now. There's a danger to handing me a microphone. So hope is an interesting word for me. I don't necessarily resonate with it too well. To use some of the terms that have been floated about recently, hopium, it kind of has that feeling of relinquishing or pacification. But I guess the main theme that's kind of stuck with me recently that maybe is close to that is, maybe I'll tell you a quick Taoist parable. It's a parable about a farmer who loses his horse. And of course, the horse is important for a farmer to do his job. But when the horse runs away, all the townspeople come and offer their condolences to the farmer, and he says, well, we'll see. And then the horse comes back with a couple of wild horses, and this is wildly exciting. And so all the townspeople are then excited and say, oh, how fortunate. And the farmer says, well, we'll see. And then his son is trying to break in one of the wild horses, and he falls off and breaks his leg. And again, everybody's like, oh, how unfortunate. Farmer again says, we'll see. And then the government comes through, conscripting all the young children, and his son can't go because his leg's broken. And so again, it kind of flip-flops, and everybody says, how fortunate. You know, we never are at the end of the story, and we never have all the information about anything. And so I find withholding judgment and seeing how things unfold, yet we still need to be adaptable to the situation and work with what we're given. But the amount of judging of what has happened or hasn't happened as being either completely horrible or completely amazing, I think we're better off withholding some judgment on that and seeing how things unfold. So that's my thoughts.
Thanks, Jim. And mine talks to a similar thing. For me, my hope comes from a zooming out, like making your scope so big where you look at all of history and look at our species, and we're a complicated healing species. And I know healing. I've done my own personal healing journey, and healing to me is ugly, and there's regressions, and there's backtracking, but at the end of the day, it brings up truths that we get to look at and then decide, where to go from there. And so the hope is just zooming out, getting the bigger picture, and seeing how many beautiful shoulders we get to stand on who've gone through the journey of keeping joy in their hearts to make things better for other people. And we've got that. People before us didn't have as much of that as we've got. So that's where the hope, the humanity that always seems to ring through in that big picture scope. That's my hope.
Very good. Thank you. Wow.
I have my own. Hope for me is simply that my friends and family know that I love them. And I know I don't tell them enough. So today that's my project, since you brought it up, hope. Also, in my own personal life, I have a long list of things that I would like to accomplish in the next 30 years. But if I don't accomplish them all, I know I can do it in the next life. So I have peace of mind on that one. And that's my feelings on hope.
So, what gives me hope? So, one of the things that I would say is to kind of reframe it differently. This is how I sit with it this week. This has been a tough week for me. I will be totally honest with you guys. It was a rough week for me. And so for me, the question, how I frame the question then, isn't so much what do I hope for, but what do I love? And how does that change the things that I hope for? So I'd like to put that up for people here today to share. I kind of want to backtrack a little bit because I'm kind of, I got quotes, I got talks, I got an outline and things like this, and I want to be fluid, and here's why. So I was reading Jane Goodall. I'm reading a book on hers on hope, and it's a great book. And she talks about what makes human beings intellectual to the point that we are apparently the ones that go to the moon and do the things that we do. And I'm looking at you, Matt, because I think this is a fun one. So it used to be that we thought that and she says, we are intellectual, not intelligent. Because if we were intelligent, we would not be in the place that we are today of our own making. So she says, what defines that? And so it used to be that we thought it was opposable thumbs, because opposable thumbs, we could make tools. And humans are the ones who make tools. We're tool-making critters, except crows make tools. And other primates use tools. So it's not tools. And it's not necessarily just that we're intelligent, because there's a level of intelligence in trees and plants and birds and bees and everything. You can train bees. You can train bees to roll little balls. And other bees will observe them doing that, and they will learn that. So by observation. And I read an article years ago about how cats, cats of all things, but cats can learn by watching something or someone else do something and then imitating that. So it's not intelligence, it's not tool making, but what is it that brought us from being sort of a second-rate primate to the one that gets to go to the moon? Any takers? Nope. Matt? Symbolic thinking as expressed in language. Language is it. Language is the thing that got us out of the trees. Yeah, and then up to the moon, or someone wants to take us to Mars. Yeah, so language is it, because language is how we communicate our feelings, our thinkings. It's how we can come together in a group and instruct. So the thing that really moved us is language, the ability that we can sit and talk and listen to each other. So my question then is, my hope is that we all begin to use more and more this amazing thing that we work with called language. And so when it comes to hope then, here's my question for you guys. Not so much what you hope for, but what do you love? And as a result of that, how does that direct the things that you hope for? What do you love, and how does that affect the way that you hope for? Any takers on that one? Yes, in the back. You're going to be in our mic monitor. Fabulous. Thank you,
Sure.
Laura.
I love people despite themselves. I've worked with, I've been a licensed psychiatric technician in the past. I went to nursing school, graduated, but my feet wore out, so I can't do any nursing hospital floors anymore. But at any rate, I thought about working Home Depot because I heard a lot of male contractors went in there. But I still can't stop doing healthcare. I really love it. It's like my calling. So I guess that's what I really love, and
Cool.
people.
Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you. Let's give her a hand here. All right. Anyone else? What do you love, and how does that direct your hope? There we go.
I love my sister, and right now there's tension, and so because of that love, my hope is there'll be healing.
Fabulous. Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other takers? In the back, our sound man.
I'd love to learn how to work this machine.
And I hope you do.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I am officially retired last Friday. So I'm hoping and loving that my retirement will be awesome.
Yes, right on.
Congratulations.
Anyone else? Anyone else?
I think I've got one.
Okay.
It's kind of like critical thinking and kind of critical ponderings and philosophical ponderings is what I love. Like that part of humanity, and to do with language, to do with the great Rumis and the Shakespeares and all. Like the poet in me loves that, and so I feel privileged that I get to lean into the writing and absorb the writing of others and sharing that language. And I think I appreciate that you're onto that the language thing, because just putting these little gems for us to latch onto, and they're mechanisms. I use little phrases all the time when I get out of bed, and so just sharing those things and getting them into our daily lives. I think that's my hopeful part, and then we can all just regurgitate them to each other, and we've all got those little gems.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Laura, well, then you move us into our next, please.
right, you already know my name. Reverend Laura, the practitioner of the day. And you've already seen the light in each other this morning, greeting each other, seeing the light. And so right now, I'd like to help move us into that heart space, that lighted space that governs all our lives and choices. So let's put 2 feet on the ground. We're going to take a deep breath. Exhale long. And be here now. Our Father, Mother, God, the life, the power in us, through us, and around us, in all living things. We are blessed. And this morning we send blessings to those that are affected by the fires. They're affected by anything all over the world. We send blessings. And we claim and hope for health, happiness, abundance, harmony. And we know that we've been given free will to think, to speak, to act any way we choose. To love everyone, to manifest anything. And we know that life has so many gifts for us, that Spirit guides us to those gifts. We are open to giving and receiving today, listening to the wise words of Reverend Guy and the beautiful music of Lee and Jim. Thank you for all the love this morning that is shared. And I release these truths into the law of mind, knowing all is well. Together we say, and so it is. Okay, our quote this morning, since this is the month of gratitude, is by Arthur Ward, and it's called Gratitude. Gratitude can transform common days into Thanksgivings, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings. Gratitude. All right, and now I have a special way of bringing us into that beautiful center to heal and send love to our friends and family. As we inhale, we're going to say God is. As we exhale, I am. Here we go. And inhale, God is. Exhale, I am. Inhale, God is. Exhale, I am. Inhale, God is. Exhale, I am. For 3 minutes. together we say, and so it is.
So Reverend Guy asked me to play this one this morning, and it's been on his mind, and I've said it's also been on my mind. This is Talking of the Shoulders We Get to Stand On, 1964, Sam Cooke. Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Life is its way, yeah.
Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Every day.
Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Life is its way, yeah.
Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Every day. When I go to sleep at night, I add up my day. I think of all the things I've done and debts I have to pay. But there is one thing that I know: while you reap is while you sow. So
keep moving on, keep moving on.
life is its way, yeah.
Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Every day.
Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Life is its way, yeah.
Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Every day.
Brother, mind what you do, how you treat your fellow man. If you knew like me, you would do the very best you can.
For if you spread good all around,
You'll be able to sleep when the sun goes down. So keep moving on, keep moving on.
life is its way, singing.
Keep moving on, keep moving on. Every day, every day. Keep moving on, keep moving on.
Life is its way, yeah.
Keep moving on, keep moving on. Every day. Please welcome a Reverend Guy Williams, Dr. Guy Williams. Thanks, Jim Jones.
Have you ever had one of those days where just you think maybe the smartest thing for me to do is something that the I Ching calls a tactical retreat? You know, when you keep moving forward and there's just one obstacle and there's another obstacle. And in the I Ching, I think it's Hextram 60 that says when you're moving against forces that appear greater than yourself, the wise man backs off. And so I kind of feel like that, like today is one of those days where it'd be really good for me to be taking a tactical retreat, but here I am. Moving on, moving on. And we'll see where I go. So I kind of want to start this talk with a continuation of last week's talk, just to bring something into context. So last week I was sharing about before I came up here back in the 80s, I lived in San Diego, and I lived in the area that's North Park, Bankers Hill, Hillcrest, that area there, which is a really diverse area, and it's just rich with different cultures and different kinds of people and all kinds of things. And which is why when I moved to Fallbrook in 2005, it felt like I was moving to another planet, because like Fallbrook is like the opposite of the area that I lived in. And but one of the things that was going on at that time was there was that was during the time of the AIDS pandemic or the AIDS epidemic, and people were dying right and left. And I was doing volunteer work for this organization, so I had the opportunity to meet lots of people with the condition of AIDS. And I think I said this last week. I remember at one point saying, God, you know, this has been like 30 people so far that I know that are dying of this thing. It was like really something. But in all that, I was the guy that is good to have in a crisis. And I think that's why I loved working in a kitchen at one point in time, because it's like, if there's a crisis happening and there's a clock ticking and this is happening, it's like that's when I feel most alive. And I remember that, and I remember, going through that. If someone needed a hospital run, if someone needed this, doing that, watching somebody, whatever the case may be, I was the guy. And to some degree, I still am that kind of guy. And then, at that time, I had this cat named Bhagwan. Oh, man, this cat was a character. I got this cat, found him in an alley, and he was probably who knows how old, covered in fleas. His eyes weren't even open. I remember bringing him home thinking, I will just provide a lovely and comfortable place for this cat to pass, because I didn't think he was going to live the night. And he did, and he grew, and he lived, and he was really a fun cat. And I had a roommate at the time who was a rugby player, and we were both studying martial arts at the time, and we would have these parties at our house, man, and the cat would be right in the party, right, walking around. And I remember Ron was always doing, like, karate moves with the cat, and the cat would, like, hold its own and do the whole thing. He's really a character. And at 16... he got what's called, I guess, feline leukemia, and he died. I had to put him down because he was quite sick, and I lost it. I wept for days. I mean, it was like overwhelming for me. And my point of that is sometimes we hold it together so well, right? And then something happens, and it just is the tipping point. Have you ever had that kind of experience? You know what I'm talking about there? That we just kind of are going along, but it seems like the most innocuous thing. I mean, I loved my cat, but for goodness sakes, it wasn't like, it just brought me to my knees. And 3 things happened this week that kind of brought me to my knees. And I want to start by telling a story. And as I'm telling the story, I'm going to try to open this doggone water bottle. There we go. So there is an old Muslim story about this servant. And this servant of this grand vizier in this town was in the marketplace one day. And he's going about doing what he does, getting the things for the market and at the market and all the things that could happen. And as he looks around, he sees death. And death looks at him and goes like this with the most quizzical face. And he goes, oh my God. And he runs home and he tells his master, and his master says, here, get out of town. And so he gets the fastest horses and he rides and he rides and he rides and he rides to the town of Samara. And there he rides into the plaza of that town where the fountain is, so that he can water the horse and rest. And he's like, oh, geez. And he's resting. And as he's sitting there, death comes up to him and says, it was such a surprise to see you this morning because I knew we had an appointment this evening in Samara. So I kind of had that kind of encounter this week where death came to me and said, it's so surprising to see you here because our appointment is not for a while. And it was just kind of like, it was like, whew, this is where I am. And in this, I'm looking at Gary because I saw Gary. That was one of the other things that I did listening. And if you've never seen Gary, he's a medical intuitive. He's a remarkable guy. But, man, he can see things that are just kind of interesting. And he was kind of confirming what had happened to me. And then there was the election. And it wasn't like any one thing, and it wasn't like, I'll be the first to admit, I am not an optimist. So I don't think in terms of one political system or another political system, or if somebody is conservative or somebody is progressive, or any of those kinds of things. I've worked that thing through. But it was like a culmination of all these things just brought me to my knees. And, I remember waking up Wednesday morning, and for the first time in ministry, having a prayer that went like this: God, please do not send anybody my way who needs me, because I don't have anything to give today. And have you had that experience in your life where you've just felt that way? And it wasn't, and again, what I'm not saying is I'm devastated by the results of one thing or another, but it was just sort of a collectiveness and just the energy that's around. And a dear friend of mine who lives in Sydney sent me this quote from Abraham Lincoln. And it goes like this: "The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as a liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty." Let me read that again, and then I'll go on. "The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as a liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty. Plainly, the sheep and the wolf are not agreed upon the definition of the word liberty, and precisely the same difference prevails today among us human creatures, all professing to love liberty." Right? And I think what it speaks to is the paradox of the human experience and the paradox of the experiment that we are living under. And so whether you are filled with elation or fear or sorrow for whatever has transpired this week, we can kind of feel it pervasively. It's just there. And I think, as students of metaphysics, it's important for us not to get caught into things, not to be, as Emma Curtis Hopkins said, deceived by the appearance of things. There's that prayer that I pray often from Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, to trust the slow work of God. But I think, for myself also, it's to kind of understand the sweetness of life in where we're going, and how then we begin to work with this. And I want to offer a couple ideas that I've been sort of processing as we go through this. And this is, by the way, the longest introduction to a talk I think I've ever done. So the first thing is this: wherever you are today, my suggestion, my offering is to resist four things. And the first thing to resist is cynicism. I have an acquaintance who's a public theologian, and he's just brilliant. His name is Strip Fuller. He does some really amazing things. But one of the things that I was hearing him talk about once was this. He says, that, and this is based on, and again, I'm going to Matt. I go to Matt because I like him, and he's an anthropologist, and he's kind of hip to these things. So, and I'll speak to other people about other things, but just kind of. So one of the things that he was talking about is that human beings, when we reach a group number of like 120 people, which is kind of like our max. As primates, that's kind of our tribal number. And after that tribal number, we have no idea what to do with ourselves. And so what happens then is that what we need is, we really need to have, as human beings, once we get to this number, we need to have mediating institutions of trust, or we don't function well. And if we don't have these mediating institutions of trust within us, then mischief happens. And it happens in things like this. Then we are prone to ideological singularity. This is the truth, and that's not the truth. This is right, and that is wrong. He is right, she is wrong, kind of thing. So we'll slip into ideological singularity, or we'll slip into top-down coercive powers. And the other thing that we'll do is we'll take the anxieties of a culture and we'll force them upon a scapegoat. And there's a danger of all those things right now. Because maybe there's a fifth thing here. And that is this: to resist asking the question, why? Why did it happen? Why did it happen? Why did it happen finally? Or, oh my God, why did it finally happen? You know, however we ask that question is to not ask that question. Because if we sit and we dwell upon why did this happen, what happens is that we turn to, what we do is we turn then to the answer, and we take that answer into a justification for the same strategies. And if anything is shouting clearly right now, it's the same strategies don't work. And so maybe instead of rushing headlong into something, we just stop. This morning I drew a tarot card every morning, and I drew the High Priestess. And the thing about the High Priestess, which is really interesting, it's kind of what I'm sitting with today, which is kind of like, I'm not sure where this talk is going. I'm going to try to stay with my notes. We'll see. But the High Priestess says, don't seek for answers. Wait for answers to come. Do you see the difference there? Don't seek something, wait. In other words, there's that great piece of poetry by this ancient Semitic group of people that their idea of the divine says, be still and know. Be still and know. So stop trying to ask the question, why? It will arrive in due time, and probably not in a way that anyone expects. So there's that, and so there's to refuse that, and then also to refuse or resist cynicism, because that's real easy to do right now. And I want to speak to that part in a minute, but it goes to this whole idea, you know, that there's what we need and how we need it. There is, I'll tell that part later. So the third thing, or the fourth thing, wherever I am with this one, is to resist inaction, and these are my thoughts, resist optimism. Because optimism can often lead to complacency. Norman Versba, in his book, Love's Braided Dance, says this. He says, hope and optimism are not the same thing. In fact, optimism often works against hope because it does not sufficiently acknowledge or protest against the injustices that currently degrade and destroy life. Optimism is the sense that says, it'll work its way out. It'll work. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It always is. It always works out, you know. And that's different from hope. And I want to kind of get into what hope is, but to resist that level of complacency. And probably I'm speaking to myself here of how to stay in the game. And then the third or the fourth or the fifth or whatever resistance it is that I'm in, right? Third? I thought it was five. That's what I think it's five. Wherever I think this is the last one because this is where the talk starts. Now that it's almost time to end it. But it's this, is to resist hopelessness. And maybe what that looks like for us is maybe to have a working conversation of what does it mean to be hopeful? Really, what does it mean to be hopeful? And again, I'll go back to Norman Versbusser in Love's Braided Dance. What he says is, but what if hope isn't really, or at least not fundamentally, a thing that we possess? What if hope is instead a loving way of being that is animated by an affirmation of the goodness of life, a practice way of life, rooted in the conviction that this life is worth cherishing, defending, and celebrating? How does our thinking and living change when hope is characterized more as a verb than as a noun? So hope is the way that we live. And maybe we ask ourselves this question again: what do I love? What do I cherish? And how does that flavor the things that I hope for? Are you guys with me on this so far? And so maybe then it's an active way of being, as opposed to a thing that like it's bestowed. Some people get it and some people don't get it. But maybe it's a way of living that is cultivated. But it's cultivated by the power of love. Because without love, there is no hope, right? And without hope, there is no joy. And the opposite of joy is not sadness. The opposite of joy is numbness. It's deadness. And it's too easy to fall back or want to escape or want to go to this place or that place with it. But it's a practice. That's Jane Goodall. That's not who I was talking about here. Paul Woodworth. Paul Woodworth, I remember this book. I think it was like one of the first books I bought when I moved to Fallbrook, come to think of it. It's that old, maybe. But I've been thinking about it a lot. Paul Woodworth, he wrote a book called Reverence. And it's an amazing book. Because reverence is that place of amazement and wonder and awe. And if I could distill the book down to two things, it's this. The first is, for all of us to remember, is all humans are human. All humans are human. That means conservatives are human. Progressives are human. Liberals are human. Women are human. Men are human. Trans are human. Latinos are human. Undocumented immigrants are human. Corporate industrialists are human. We are all human, and none of us, nobody, exists out of the realm of human. We are all one family. And any way that we want to vilify a group is a way that we excuse ourselves from seeing their humanity. Now, what he also goes on to say, which is interesting, is he says, leaders are responsible for the compassion of the group that follow them. Let me say that one again, because it's so pithy. Leaders are responsible for the compassion of the groups that follow them. And of course, that's something that we see practiced so well in the world today with all our leaders. But it is something that you and I can practice today, because there are those whom you lead, whether they be employees or family members or whoever or wherever they are. And if so, You and I are responsible for modeling, emulating, demonstrating, encouraging, and luring those who are with us to practice compassion. Because unless there is compassion, we kind of ain't going anywhere. And one of the things, again, going back to what we want to do, is how quickly and how easily we want to vilify somebody by making them non-human. I don't know if you guys remember this. Well, it happens today. Think of the enemy du jour. I remember when it was the Japanese, it was the Vietnamese, it was the Iraqis, it was the whoever the case may be. And what do? We make slang words about them so that they lack the humanity, because it's much easier to oppress somebody if we don't see or acknowledge their humanity. And the way that we see their humanity is we practice the art of compassion. And what is compassion? It's with that sense of being with them, whoever they are. As metaphysicians, it's the challenge, because what it means is that if thoughts are causative, the thoughts that I have, the thoughts that I held, the perceptions that I have, it goes back to the sheep and the wolf, right? How do I see them? Do I see them as impinging me, or how do I see them and how do I reach out to them? How do I connect? How do I create? How do I love them? These are interesting times. In the language, in the archetypal and mythic language of astrology, two things are going on. One is like there's this lancing of a boil. There's this sense, this Mars energy that wants to cut, a sword, a martial energy that wants to do, and this energy that has been held and oppressed and repressed, or whatever the case may be. And by the way, you're probably feeling it individually as much as it's happening collectively. My guess would be is that all of us are feeling an incredible disruption at some area or component of our life. And what I know is there is no healing without disruption. In fact, disruption is healing, or disruption can lead to healing, because it's breaking the pattern. And that's why we don't want to just sit in the complacency of things the way they are, because if we don't look and face and feel, we will never heal. And so there's that energy, but then there's this other one that's just really kind of amazing. So energetically, the slow-moving planet Pluto, it takes Pluto 240 years to travel the zodiac, to arrive where it was. So it's taking Pluto 240 years to arrive. Am I right on that number, Joe? You're no somewhere. Okay, that's all right. Just hang with me on this one then. 240 years. So 240 years ago today, Pluto was where it is today. And in another 240 years, it will be right where it is today. So that's the cycle of it. And here it is. And it's entering into a symbolic sign. And as astrology, when I talk about astrology is a symbolic language. It's a way of conversing at an archetypal level. And so what does that mean? It means that we are really in uncharted waters. And we can expect things different and new than where they were before. And how do we work with that energy? Because, again, Jane Goodall goes back to say, we are intellectual, but not necessarily intelligent. Because our intellect, the smart, clever, language-speaking tool using 3 hairs from a baboon character that we call ourselves as humans, have done some remarkable things. So there's a kind of interesting thing on this too, because one of the things that she says is, I don't know if you've ever heard this story or not, but there was a story that used to say, that if you give 1,000 chimpanzees 1,000 laptops, one of them will print Shakespeare, one of them will write a Shakespeare play. Have you ever heard that story? I remember hearing that back in the 90s or whatever the case. That won't happen. If you give 1,000 chimpanzees 1,000 laptops, you will have mayhem and 1,000 broken laptops. It won't happen that one by chance will write Shakespeare or Homer or anything like that. They'll throw them and fly with them and play with them because they don't do that. We have gone to the moon. We want to go to Mars. We have done these remarkable things. And my thing is, and Jane Goodall says this, every time you see the moon, you should think, man, my species got there. That's a really remarkable thing. It should bring us to reverence. It should bring us to a place of amazement, wonder, and awe. We also created the atomic bomb. Ain't like going to the moon. We have done such remarkable things, but we've also created systems that have put our planet in danger. Since 1933, whatever the first atomic bomb was hatched, Oppenheimer, who, by the way, quotes Shiva, the god of death, when he says it, at that point, first, we have had wars, and again, war and aggression is not... It's not a human thing, it's a life thing. Humans do it. But again, we create institutions so that we don't do things. It's called civilization. It's actually a pretty good thing. And so we have had wars and occupations and all these kinds of things since we've climbed out of the trees, and probably even before that. Jane Goodall writes about this. She says when she was doing her work in the Gombe, and she was writing about chimpanzees, she was told not to write or talk about the aggression of the chimpanzees because they were trying to frame that as sort of a human thing. It's not a human thing, it's a life thing. But so that sense of aggression is within us. Our intellect creates such remarkable good. And yet, my point is since the hatching of the atomic bomb, for the first time in the history of humanity, we have created the capacity to not just wipe out a civilization, not just wipe out one group of people, but to annihilate the whole planet. That's us. We did that. Same ones that went to the moon. So, how do we do this? How do we get through this? I want to talk more and more about hope, but I want to address the two things. How we live with reverence. To remember that every human that you see is a human. And to remember, whoever is in your care, you are responsible for modeling to that person compassion. And I want to offer in closing a prayer. And it's a prayer that I pray often. And it's a prayer that I pray this week. It's from the 15th century mystic Teresa of Avila. And she writes, "Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. God alone suffices. God alone suffices." And so it is. Thank you. It's how many? 248 years? Oh. Well, it's the wolf and the sheep argue about liberty. You and I could argue about planets. But thank you. We're going to visit Uranus in 2034? Good. Because if they're asking for volunteers, I'm doing something that day. Yeah.
little sing along here. It's not clear, but I'm just like you. I've been over here pointing fingers too. But if you want change, you gotta do what's good. Gotta carry that water, chop that wood. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood and carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood and carry that water. Everything I do is part of this earth. Step by step I'm gonna add some worth. We can feel afraid but you can't deny it. We feel at ease when we help each other try it. If you want change you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change you gotta do what you oughta. Chop that wood and carry that water. Well, because we're all together. We're all together. Sing it again. Because we're all together. No matter where you're coming from. Sing we're all together. Yes, we're all together. We should get together and sing these songs, but it's gonna take more to right these wrongs. I'm gonna know my history, I'm gonna do someone a favor, treat myself better and trust my neighbor. If you want change, you gotta do what you ought to. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you ought to. Chop that wood and carry that water. Well, 'cause we're all together. Because we're all together. Sing, we're all together. Yes, we are, we're all together. Sing, we're all together. You're so beautiful. Thanks, team. Thanks, team. Thanks, humans.
So once again, I went in my talk the way that I actually prepared it in my talk, which was with a quote. And I was so caught up in whatever I was talking about, I completely forgot this quote. Because, here it is, here, because I missed it. And let me find it, because I know I put it in here, because it was how I was going to end the world. Yes. So here's the quote. And it's from The Hobbit. And it's from King Thorn of the Dwarves, as he is speaking to Bilbo Baggins before he passes. He says this, because this is what he learned from the hobbits. If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. And food and cheer and song are all shared with friends. And if we valued food and song and cheer over hoarded gold, it indeed would be a merrier world. That's how I wanted to end.
Love it.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a ringing that I was hearing. Now it's time for our giving moment. As you know, I've shared my experiences with the homeless every night. It's the season of giving away blankets. And what I do is I cover them up and drive away without them knowing male or female, just knowing that a person cared about them. So if you have any extra blankets, I just fill my trunk with them and give them away all night, because we're under 40 degrees now. So, and what's so sweet, if I can see that a homeless person, the ones holding the signs that you can't read, if I can see that they're not hireable for a job, I'm going to give them some money. And there's some pros and cons on that. One time I gave a whole handful, that's all I had in the car, of change. And I put it in his hands, and he throws it on the ground like it wasn't good enough. It was just change. And it was like, to me, it was everything. That was my laundry money. So, but the one thing that happens when I give money, because they're conscious and awake and standing up, is thank you, God bless you, is their answer. So I get that at least once or twice a night. Thank you, God bless you. So when we're giving on Sunday mornings, we're giving to our own home, our own community, making sure we're healthy and this building is taken care of and everybody is rewarded for their time and talents. And so let's take that money and place it on our hearts, our love on paper, knowing that this blessing that we're about to give is from our hearts. And we know as we give, we always receive in abundance. And we thank life, we thank Spirit for all the gifts that are giving to us on a daily basis. The gift of love, joy, peace, power, beauty, and joy. And the gift of time with friends and family. And together we say, and so it is.
That's human.
So, thank you all for being here. And again, I just want to give all the thank yous that are so duly deserved and probably the ones that I forget. Mike, you did a fabulous job on sound today, even though it's not on at the
Mike,
moment.
we got the microphone on the guy's mic, Rev's mic. Put him on the spot.
That's all right. Good. Good. Anyway, so thank you. Thank you, Mike, for doing a great job. Actually, you are. You're doing really good. I don't mean that in a...
The timing.
Shut up. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sherry, who was in the gift shop. And so there's some cool things there. I walked in there the other day, and there's some really cool things. So Sherry's in there. By all means, go over and say hi. Give a big thanks to Deanna and Kurt, who are in the kitchen making fabulous food for us. And our greeters today, let's see. Sherry was a greeter as well as the gift shop. She was wearing a couple hats today. And Chris was a greeter. Of course, always our sound people. Julieta, thank you, man. She's always doing good stuff in the kitchen. And Laura, it was great having you guys there, and everybody else. And so if I forgot anybody, please accept my apology. Yes, Chris?
I turned 82 Friday.
Oh. You turned 82 Friday? We should sing happy birthday, shall we? Of course.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you.
Alrighty then. With that, let us pray. What? Class. Oh yeah. Jim has class on Sunday mornings at 9:30. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Yes. Huh?
Paul's meditation.
And Paul's meditation is no more.
Oh.
It's on hiatus. So I forgot that. But we do have class and I forgot all about that. So that's that. Let us pray. So we just allow ourselves to be present to this moment. So whatever we feel, whatever we experience, whatever is going on, may we choose to be in amazement and wonder and awe. May we open ourselves to the surprises that reveal themselves to us. May we practice the patience of waiting and receiving. May we see the humanity in every face of every person we encounter. And may our hearts be filled with joy. And may that joy be infectious. And may that infection travel the world and bless it. So it is.
I'll play my song about food, cheer, and song. Getting together, about vibration of getting together with the people like we do. Well, I guess a black rider, not talking about a night out, like someone done the light out, like a whitewash wipeout. Well, you know the situation, it's being weighing on your shoulders. Take a little isolation, feel it get a little colder. I wanna feel the vibration of my people and our music. Wanna feel the vibration. Oh, you know I'm gonna lose it, yeah. But you gotta go down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Do you know how we got here? It's gonna change, tell me what year. Just trying to get my spot here. Let her fall if you got feet, cause you gotta let your soul shine. Yeah, you gotta have a good time. You gotta let your body unwind before you're back to the grind, grind, grind. I wanna feel the vibration of my people and the music. I wanna feel the vibration. Oh, you know I'm gonna lose it, yeah. But you gotta go down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Down, down, you dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? I'm singing down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Well, soul shine. Yeah, you gotta have a good time. You gotta let your body unwind before you're back to the grind, grind, grind. I wanna feel the vibration of my people and my music. I wanna feel the vibration, yeah. Oh, you know I'm gonna lose it, yeah. But you gotta go down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Sing it down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Yeah, down, down, and dig deep down. Can you dig deep down? Make sure you dance this week. You gotta move your body this week. Hey, gotta dig deep down, everybody. Happy Sunday. Much love to everybody. Thanks, Tim Jones, always. Kill it, kill it. Thanks, bud. What's up, bud? I got a show to get to. Yeah, I got to set up. So it's 2:30 doors. Feel like the house comes.